This week on Bruh Meets World.
But you know what they do hint at? A Jarek moment.
Yes! You think I don't know
Eric
this?
says to Jack, if I were a woman, I would think you were swell. And Jack goes, oh, really? Lights
think I
up
don't
like
know
a
that?
Christmas tree.
You think I don't know that? You
This
think I didn't
is-
see this episode where, in fact, Eric goes, I got a boo-boo. And Jack says, I told you this before. Kissing it will not make it better.
Jack's
that
kissing
means-
Eric's boo-boos.
He's been kissing the boo-boos. He's been kissing the boo-boos. You want me to ignore this?
I mean, the whole third act is, Jack banging his head up against things.
Where'd they get that helmet? Where'd they get that helmet?
They had it already. They had it already for protection.
When this boy meets world.
What up, bros?
What up, bros?
And welcome to Bruh Meets World.
When it's Bruh Meets World.
Your Boy Meets World fans cast. I'm Ceej.
I am Tony Curtis. How are you, sir?
Tony, you know what? I have been listening to Reba, partially because of our interview with Allison, but also I just been listening to Reba, and I gotta say, I was like, Black people love them some Reba. I don't know if you've been looking at like Twitter, the tweets and the threads, but they love
I
them some
always
Reba.
thought that the love of Reba came from the show, and I honestly have not listened to too much of her discography, so I guess
you
I need to bring
haven't?
myself to do that. Yeah.
I'm gonna let you know right now. The song. Go listen to Reba Fancy. Fancy by Reba is a whole Taylor wishes. Okay? Storytelling,
Taylor
emotions,
wishes.
art, fantastico.
Okay.
And I was just listening to it today and I was like, I'm in my country bag. I'm enjoying it.
You know what? I've been into my country bag since the Beyonce album came out, but more so like exploring the other Black country artists. Like I've been on a huge Shabuzi kick. And so I have no problem giving Reba some of my attention this summer.
Go check out Reba. Classic. I mean, even modern Reba is really good, but like classic Reba, I was just like, this woman knows how to write a song. And it really, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but like it really like pulls from like the ancestors. I don't really know. It was like,
Oh, okay. Damn.
And I was talking to someone about it. I was like, there's something about Reba that is just, she gives auntie vibes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's so funny when I think about my very first introduction to Reba. Can you guess what it is? It's such a 90s kids thing.
Oh, it would be the Little Rascals.
Yes,
She is
the
revealed.
Little
Yes,
Rascals cameo.
I knew it. When she pulls off the helmet and she is the racer
It's
that
like,
they.
wow.
Yeah, no. I don't even know why, but again, that shows you how big of a presence she was for that to be the cameo and big reveal at the end of a 90s kids TV show.
So true.
Anyway, speaking of 90s kids TV shows, this episode this week.
Boo.
I have a lot to say, and I'm going to wait to say it, but I'm with you where I watched this episode and I was like, decisions were made.
That's so funny. I felt the opposite.
No decisions were made.
Just people were just like, whatever. I feel like that's where we're at right now. Whatever.
Yeah, that's happening. Okay, so we would love to hear what you guys have to say about this episode. If you want to do that, please reach out to us at brummeetsworld@gmail.com or at brummeetsworld on all the social platforms. You guys know how to do that. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow our Patreon. You can go buy our merch, which is what Tony was going to say if I didn't say all those other things.
Yep.
So, you guys, if you want to help us out, we greatly appreciate it. Give us a review. Follow us on all the things. We are winding down with our Boy Meets World, and we still would love to have you follow us and engage in the conversations because, again, at the end of this season will not be the last you see of us.
I gotta, again, sad that this is ending. Wish we got something better for the end. I know, the finale's great, but this was a struggle episode for me.
We will talk about that, absolutely. But yeah, let's tell me about it. Tony, give me it.
All right. Tell us about it. Cory and Topanga in a ride. skipping the clubs for something more mature. Meanwhile, Eric can somehow see into the future.
You know what? You know what? I will allow it. I will allow it. I like it. You know what? We should start. I mean, it's a little late in there. We should start having the audience rate these.
Yeah, yeah. Guys, retroactively go back, listen to all the
Go
Tell
back,
Me About.
rate all of them. Let us know what you think.
Let's get a top 10 list going.
Ironically, I believe we don't really start saying it till like the third or fourth season. It's crazy how these things work. Okay, anyway, for those of you who are wondering, this is season 7, episode 18, How Cory and Topanga Got Their Groove Back. Cory and Topanga try to prove they're not boring by planning a party that coincides with the school's popular guy, Devin's party. Despite their efforts with flyers and decoration, no one shows up, and the couple ends up fighting, but making out amid the mess. Meanwhile, Eric gets a bump on the head that seemingly allows him to predict the future. Jack is frustrated with Eric's predictions, but changes his tune when Eric seemingly knows the next lotto numbers.
Jesus Christ, dude. Jesus Christ. Can I just make a correction? That's not exactly true about the Eric and Jack storyline. It says there that Eric has an accident, but what actually happens is the Lord gives him the ability to sneeze into the future.
No, he does hit his head. It starts off with him hitting his head.
It starts that way, but then we find out there was divine intervention at play. What are we doing?
Here's the thing. I will say there was something about this episode that to me, it was funny over the fact that you and I had just talked about the fact that I was like, oh, what? Are you saying this show is afraid to repeat a storyline? And sure enough, next episode, they were just like, what if we just did things we've done before?
Across the board. What if we did things we've done before? I mean, my thoughts are a little scattered because this episode's a little scattered for me, but just first impressions, if I could. This whole episode is based off of the premise that Cory and Topanga are in a rut. Why does that sound so familiar?
Because isn't this like the 9th time we've done that storyline?
This is the 9th. Yes. They were in a rut in season 3 when they broke up. They were in a rut in season 5 when they got bored and then he ended up cheating. Like, the rut thing was like, you guys were destined to be in a rut. You knew how boring you were as a couple. And in the past, anytime things got boring, you guys would just break up and now you're stuck together. Have fun.
And now you're married.
And it's just like, it's so frustrating. We have this storyline where everyone's going dancing. Topanga clearly wants to go dancing. Cory doesn't want to dance. Why does that sound familiar? Because we've done it before. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm with you there, because I will say, like, to your point, I really did look at this and I was like, oh, we are just doing everything that we used to do.
We get another food fight?
Another food fight. At one point in time, they even acknowledge that Jack and Eric's storyline is pretty much the same. They're like, this is what we do. I get into a hijinks. You don't want to go along with it, but you just do. And I was like,
like, at this point, I think they've defeated Satan together. They've done so much like mystical shit that I'm like, sure.
I would love to see an episode where they defeat Satan together.
They did.
Give me Jack and Eric.
Season 5 Halloween episode, Cameron Bure.
That's true. I'm sorry. I've been looking because all I wanted to do and what I've been doing, and I can't find it. I guarantee you, Pod Meets World will be able to. But I just wanted to do our roll call and give the only person. Well, there are 2 people who really have like a speaking role. One is the bum, which we will get to that in general. But another is Dervin. Jerry Dervin. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find his information anywhere. I've looked at all the places.
Has a kid named Punk.
Yeah,
who might be him. But
no, Punk is. I assume Punk is dude in convenience store.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you
Yeah,
go for
I don't know.
the
Anyway,
roll call.
point me. Let's go back to it. Let's just go talk about the fact that Cory and Topanga, we have been down this road. We have done this so many times, and I have to say that watching them say Cory is an old man again, I was like, I don't need another one of these episodes. What else? Give me what else you got. What else can they be doing as a married couple?
100%.
Also, more than anything, why can't Topanga go out on her own?
Yep.
Why is that not a thing?
Why didn't Cory learn from the season 5 episode
Right?
where Topanga wanted to go dancing that he should take her dancing? Like, why are we venturing down this again? To your point about them being a boring couple, it's like at this point, Cory is just being who he's always been. And
Correct.
I don't even have a problem with that for there to be some consistency within their character or their relationship struggles. But for it to be this, well, what do you mean we're in a rut? Like this discovery of it all, just being like, well, what do you mean we're not fun? What do you mean we're like old people stuff? It's like, this is your defining character trait at this point as a couple. So like I want the discovery aspect. I want the what do you mean, the wondering how this happened. I want all that to go away. All of it needs to go away.
I think that what makes me, I'll say, a little sad is that this episode feels like a spec script. It feels like something that someone would write in the tone of Boy Meets World, maybe even Boy Meets World season 6. I do know Barbie Adler wrote this episode. They talk about Barbie all the time. And
who, by the way, has gone on to do Arrested Development, My Name is Earl, How I Met Your Mother. She's gone on to do great things, but this episode ain't one of those great things.
And I'm hoping this is just one of those things where they're like, it was her idea for them to throw a party, and it was her idea that Eric gets psychic powers, and then everything else was just a group effort, and we can spread the blame around. Because honestly, this just doesn't feel like any thought was put into who these characters are. And I say that because there's a point in time where Shawn is like disrespectful and dismissive of Cory. And I was like, last week they were bosom buddies. Last week they were joined at the hip. Last week they were sharing a bed and pancakes. And we've been talking about how Cory may not be close to Topanga, but he is close to Shawn.
I'm sorry, now that you bring up Shawn, something I have to bring up, and we talked about it last week, but it's still weird. The goatee.
Yeah.
It's so weird that within the last like 8 episodes of their last season, they were like, change your whole look. It's okay. It's cool. I know that this was supposed to signify a multiverse version of you, but we're going to keep that going. I mean, Cory makes a little joke about it here, but it's still very weird to just have someone just change their entire look that they've had for an entire series at the very tail end of it.
Not only that, but I was going to say, if you look, everyone's getting facial hair except Cory.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows how Cory is out of the loop with everyone else. But I will say that, like, I thought Will looked good this episode. I was like, they are actually giving him a stylist. They're actually making him look young and like he's part of the gang. I will say that this episode felt...
They put a helmet on him.
Come on,
let's be so real. Let's be so real.
They put a helmet on him through the second. We're gonna get to the Eric and Jack of it all, because I'm not gonna lie, I laughed way more than I should have, considering how derivative this is. But I laughed. I'm going to own up to it. I laughed. The idea that this show consistently tells and doesn't show is so frustrating, because the idea that they're like, I bet we're waiting on Jack's hair. I was like, oh, okay. With the last episode and this episode, I can see that we are making Jack this vain character.
And you know how you were like, I kept arguing that, and you were like, well, we haven't really seen that. That's because the show retroactively makes that his characteristic, and it's so weird.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what I'm saying is just that. I was like, you guys, it's only been 2 episodes to where they say that, and then I understand. If we end with this being his characteristic, people will go back and watch it and be like, hey, this is who he was the entire time. But I'm like, no, The show didn't set this up. He has never been vain. We have never spent time with him looking in the mirror, focusing on his hair. We have never spent time with him at the gym. Like, he's not walking around with like a protein shake.
No.
All of this is brand new. Is he a rich, spoiled kid? Yes. Does he know that he's good looking? Yes. But none of those things were painted as a negative until the last 2 episodes, where they were like, by the way, Jack is vain, and that is his like personality. That's his
He's
defining personality.
also worlds apart from the sweet kid in season 5 who wanted to connect with Chet and Shawn. The one who was just like, oh, when Chet gave him the toaster when they first moved in, he was like, thank you, I really appreciate this. He didn't say like, well, actually, my stepfather has a nicer one, or I have a top of the line one. Like, that just wasn't him. It was never him. And it's like, they've changed Jack so much, and they make him whatever they want him to be. It's really strange that it just feels like the Plays with Squirrel's future premonition, like the way that they thought Jack was going to be if he went down the wrong road is like, let's just keep him going down that road anyway.
I like this fan theory that I'm going to like give credit to you with, which is the war episode is actually the turning point for these characters, and they become more in line with the futures that we painted for them than they do with the characters that we knew them to be beforehand.
You know what could have solved this for me? If at any point throughout the last season, they just made it feel like Jack maybe got a little OCD or is investing in his health because of the death of Chet. Like, Chet died, and because of that, I'm going to start taking my health even more seriously, would explain this in such a way that I could really look the other way, truly.
Well, honestly, like, I love that you went that deep with it, but we don't need to. If you would have given me season 1, when they all do come back with like highlights and all this other stuff, if you would have given me a line where Jack's like, hey, I got a gym membership, and I'm like, like,
Sure,
he's slowly starting to get more attention, and we show characters in the background giving him more attention. We have him start acknowledging the hair care products and all this other stuff. It doesn't even need to be like a whole storyline, like just little breadcrumbs throughout, to your point, would make sense. That's all I need. If you would have just given me like little hints in story form, not in the fact that Matthew Lawrence is a good looking man who likes to wear tight shirts, but in story form, if you would have said, hey, this character is actually vain. Again, I love the idea, and I'm not going to let it go, that Jack hates Cory because A, makes sense.
Yeah.
And B, like, it would have been a nice little like through line of being like, oh, Jack and Cory have like this tension, and Jack is the only one who sees Cory for who he is.
Sure.
And that explains why they don't always hang out. Like, all of this other stuff would have been fun. But you literally just gave us Jack's turning of a character in the last 2 episodes, and it only makes sense if I take what we're going to call the goatee timeline. Like, if we take the goatee
the darkest timeline, yeah. They don't really hint towards Jack's change very well, but you know what they do hint at? A Jarek moment.
Yes, you think I don't know this?
Says to Jack, if I were a woman, I would think you were swell. And Jack goes, oh, really? Lights up like a Christmas tree.
You think I don't know that? I didn't see this episode where, in fact, Eric goes, I got a boo-boo. And Jack says, I told you this before. Kissing it will not make it better.
Jack's been kissing Eric's boo-boos.
He's been kissing the boo-boos. He's been kissing the boo-boos. You want me to ignore this? You want me to ignore the fact that Jack has been kissing Eric's boo-boos, and that Eric is like, hey, I think you'd be, if I were a woman, I think you'd be swell. And Jack is like, okay, that's all I needed. All I needed was validation from Eric. You want me to ignore that?
And I mean, the whole third act is, Jack banging his head up against things.
Where'd they get that helmet? Where'd they get that helmet?
They had it already. They had it already for protection.
I watched this and I was like, Jarek is alive and in the writer's room.
It's
tell me nothing.
Again, I'm only convinced that Jack cares about his appearance because of Eric, and I'm taking that to my grave.
No, I agree with you. We do get that moment again. We get Jack worried about his hair gel and all this other stuff.
Oh, something else. Can I just mention real fast? Full leather jacket gang in effect. Every person but Cory and Topanga is in a leather jacket in this opening scene to go to the blue room or whatever.
Yeah, the blue room.
They've been making this like observation on Pod Meets World set season 1 that anyone who's cool is in a leather jacket, and it just feels so dated. But in this episode, they lean into it so much.
Well, in this episode, it does feel the most like there are like the young hip friends, and then there's Cory and Topanga. Like Cory and Topanga are talking about 60 Minutes and like all this other stuff. And I just wish I'd be fine if we made this Cory's thing. And Topanga was like, I'm married to Mr. Boring. Like, I need to get out. I want to get out. If it was Topanga's idea to throw the party, like all of this I'd be into because it'd be like Topanga, who was young and with her friends, fighting to like save her marriage in some way. I'd be down with that, but we don't even give her that. Topanga, like this, if you want to talk about the different timeline, what do we see Topanga in the future episode? She is a unsatisfied married woman. And to your point, in this goatee timeline, that's the trajectory that we're going on. Because
100%.
Topanga has lost any and all personality. She is no longer an individual. She is just Mrs. Cory Matthews.
I honestly, rewatching season 4, I feel like this has kind of always been the case for a character. If we're being real, Topanga hasn't been a character since like season 2. And even then, she was like a minor character. She was only in a handful of episodes, but at least she was defined as a character. Like, she is all over the place and consistently kind of has been.
Yeah, I mean, but like even in the last few weeks, we've gotten comedic Topanga. We've gotten Topanga who, like, self-centered Topanga. I take that.
Yeah.
But we don't even get that this episode. That's what I'm saying.
Well, speaking of self-centered, just to give him a little bit of props, I feel like in a season 6 story, Cory would not have gave a single fuck about Topanga wanting to be young and have fun. Whereas in this one, I kind of do like that it's his idea to throw a party because he is at the very least compromising. I don't want to leave the house. You want to have fun with our friends. Let's throw a big shindig. Like, it's, again, he's been such an abysmal character for like the last few seasons that to see him kind of softening up a little bit on this stuff, I don't know if it's just like he set the bar so low that now anything he does to show effort means something, but I'm going to give him his flowers for this.
Oh, see, maybe that's what you're willing to do. I didn't see that at all. Because this isn't compromise. This isn't compromise. If your wife, if your partner is like, I want to go out, I want to be young, we're in college, and you're like, well, we can have folks over here. And then you invite folks over, but again, you don't even invite her friends. You later go back and be like, nah, y'all ain't respect this enough. You uninvited. And you don't even tell her that you uninvited her friends.
Uninvited her friends, also uninvited a bunch of other random people that got the flyer. And at the end of the day, I was just like, did you actually invite anyone to this? Correct. Or did you purposefully sabotage it, Cory?
This is what I'm saying.
Oh, shit. All right, never mind. He's back to his own hijinks.
Well, because when we get to the party, I'll talk about how he's back to his own hijinks. But I will say, again, I was interested in the character development in this episode because we get a few things. One, we get Rachel, Shawn, and Angela. And I was like, this trio makes sense. Like, it does make sense that Angela and Rachel are closer, not only because they're roommates, but just like the way that they interact and have been interacting in the season, they make more sense. And it's kind of still like that party divide of like a them versus us.
I also like it's like a new trio. Like we had the Cory, Topanga, Shawn trio, and now we have the Angela, Rachel as the Cory, Shawn figures, and Shawn as the Topanga being the third one there.
Correct. I like like this duo, but like the idea that like they're all sitting down, and then I did love Trina's reading of, "Ooh, look, surprises,
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 Shawn surprises."
Exactly. I thought that was fun, but when I was talking about like the different dynamics we get, Shawn is so dismissive of Cory. And again, if this episode had come before, I would say war or any of things like that, I would understand the hostility of Cory and Shawn. But as of this, because we were talking about the fact that Shawn was getting tired of Cory's nonsense.
Sure.
But in the last 2 episodes, they have been birds of a feather. 3 episodes even. So,
yeah, like it doesn't make sense, like almost to play up the story, like, oh, he's kind of purposely being a dick to Cory because he's upset that Cory doesn't hang out with him anymore, because we've been seeing them hang out. So that doesn't really work. It just feels like Shawn wants to just like make fun of Cory for being an old man. And it doesn't come off brotherly. It doesn't come off like a sweet negging. It just comes off as like him being a little bit of a dick to him. He's like, what's this party going to end at, like 10? Well, don't worry, guys. We'll leave and go to an actual fun party.
Yeah, if this episode had come right after The Provider, it would actually make narrative sense. And maybe it was like written in that way, but like it would make narrative sense because, again, we've already seen Cory choose his friendship with Shawn over his marriage.
Yeah.
So for him to for Shawn to be dismissive of Cory in this way feels totally off, feels inconsistent, and sure. I just didn't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Shawn's probably like, they are who they've always been, guys. I don't know. Like,
well, Topanga's not. Cory, yes.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, even Topanga, I just feel like if she wanted to, she would. If she wanted to go out, she would just say, Cory, I'm going out. Because that's what she did in season 5. She was like, you don't want to go dancing? Fine, I'll go dancing myself.
To that point, I will say Topanga does not have friends. She has no friends. Not only does she not have friends because of last week when they threw the baby shower, nobody spoke to her beforehand.
Still cold as ice.
So, like, I can't believe that happened. But this episode, why did Rachel and Angela not tell Topanga, hey, your party's the same night of Devin's? Like, if we had a scene where Topanga's like, Cory, I heard our party is the same night as Dervin's, I'm concerned. And Cory was like, nah, we'll make it good. All that would have been great. But as of this, of everything that we see in episode, Topanga doesn't find out that it's the same night as Dervin's.
You know why?
Discussion.
Because they have the discussion with Cory, and the show is treating Cory and Topanga as one unit. They are one thing. They are not individuals anymore. They're married now, which means they can't be individuals. They must do everything together and think in one hive mind. I communicated it to Cory, so in turn, I'm sure he communicated it to Topanga.
Yeah, and that's my problem. My problem is that not only have they made them like an old boring couple together, but like they just, like, again, they're forgetting who these characters are. Speaking of which, it reminded me of, there was a scene we kind of skipped over, but when Topanga is saying, hey, I want to go out, I want to do stuff, she says, you're turning into your parents. And there's like this really funny, quote unquote, funny line of Cory being like, never bring up my parents in the bedroom. But I was like, actually, Amy and Alan are fucking.
Also, like, Amy and Alan used to go out dancing. Remember when she had like like their bowling nights or whatever? Like, they went out and did stuff.
Amy and Alan were the cool parents.
Wish you had the heat, the passion of Amy and Alan Matthews.
Exactly. Thank you. That's my whole thing. Being like, you're being like your parents. No, they're not. They're not even being like your parents. Everyone else's parents actually know how to act. Y'all are just acting like an older couple. I mean, Feeny out there getting it. So
it's so interesting that, like, it's almost, I don't know how much you've seen of Family Ties, but the whole idea of Family Ties is like, hey, we were hippies and now we have a yuppie son.
Yeah.
And like, this is so weird that it's like, hey, both of their parents are very liberal, yet somehow this couple turned out to be the most conservative couple on television. And it's so strange. It comes out of nowhere. And it doesn't really, I think, do them any favors as a couple.
I agree. And it's really weird that this is just where we go with it. I don't like that we make them such a boring couple and such a toxic couple. Like, if you're going to be toxic, at least be interesting.
Sure. But that's the thing. That's the only way that can keep excitement within their relationship is when there's toxicity at play.
Give me Carrie and Big of it all. Like, is it great? No. But at least they always had some nonsense going on. like make Topanga equally upset with Cory because we get to the part where Cory goes, maybe it's a good thing that nobody came. I mean, those weren't your best quiches. And I'm like, excuse you, sir?
Blaming
Excuse you?
blaming Topanga's quiches when no one even came to try a quiche is dirty. Not
You were
only
just
that,
waiting to say that. You ate a quiche and was like,
whose job was the marketing, Cory? You had one job, which was to hand out flyers. If no one came, that's on you, bruh.
Not only that, she rightfully is like, maybe it was your flyers. Maybe it was those cheesy ass signs that you put up. Valid, and by the way, coming from a place of hurt. Not a great thing to say when you're coming in like in a
He
fight with
started
your partner,
it.
but he started it. Then what does he do? He goes, maybe it's the lame music you picked out.
Cory was playing tribal
we
music.
saw you pick the music. You was DJ.
The
So
captions on the on Disney Plus said tribal music. I was like, what is this?
Cory, we saw you select. She said, put on some music. You put on. She didn't even like what you put on. So you over here blaming Topanga.
They really leaned Cory into the Mr. Rogers of it all. The outfit, the look, like they were trying to make it's so funny that he is wearing almost the exact same thing as he was wearing in the They Want You to Take the Role scene.
Correct.
It has become that future old Jewish man.
Correct. They're saying that the future is inevitable.
The future is now. The future is now. Yeah, so they end up fighting, and then it turns into a food fight. Again, we saw this with Rachel, Eric, and Jack in the previous season, so nothing's really exciting here, except in this time, they fuck on it.
I would have say it was something because when they start doing all this, I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like food in that way. Like it's not a thing
it's
for
sticky.
me. Yeah, exactly. I was like, no, we can have food after or before.
Also, we know you got roaches in the married dorm, so for you guys just to be fucking with all that food on the floor, no, thank you.
That was another thing that I thought about. Like they were like, oh, nobody came. You mean to the crack den that y'all said y'all live in? Y'all
exactly. He handed out that flyer to conservatively, at least to us, 12 different people. I know for a fact those people can go to their married dorm. And by the way, who would want to? Who would want to? There's kids who see dead people in the hallway.
According to what you've told us, everyone knows, like, walking into this place and walking around this place is not good. It is just your apartment that you fixed up. That is like the sweet spot. And per our understanding of this episode, nobody has been to your place but your friends.
Yeah. No one wants to go. Why would they?
Why would they? So it's crazy that you invited people to an area of town and to an area of campus that not only would it be hard for them to get into, but they wouldn't want to be at just based on reputation alone. And then you are surprised that nobody came while it's also on the same night as the most popular party. Like, that is nothing but hubris. That's
also,
nothing but ego.
And I mean, like, it's basic party throwing, like, etiquette. You're in college. It's Saturday night. They're like, oh, it's 7:58. Our guest will be here in 2 minutes. It's like,
no.
Be so for real. Like,
real.
No one is going out and starting to dance, at least at that age, until at like 10 minimum where you leaving the house.
Honestly, to your point, if this was the pregame for Darvin's party, then we got it.
Yeah. Marketing is like, everybody come over here and get sloshed before Darvin's thing. Like, that's a good time.
Yep. But you ain't had no liquor bottles. You had quiche. Quiche ain't a turn up food.
It ain't a turn up food. Is it egg based?
But I will say, as you were saying, Topanga and Cory get turned on by this fight. And I saw that and I was like, I see where we're going with this. I was like, we better be going, because y'all ain't build it up this much and then back down just because we on Disney. If you gonna do all of this and make Topanga have that lustful look in her eyes, give it. But then also, it's a weird thing.
It's a weird
never
thing.
Seen Topanga be this way, and all of a sudden she just can't get enough of Cory dick. That's crazy.
I think we accidentally tapped into a fetish that Topanga didn't know she had.
She was eating a lot last week.
Oh, cold.
I'm just saying.
You know what's gonna turn her on?
Show.
Some food.
Is it Danish in here?
Is it Danish in here? The show is rude.
Now that Danish line makes more sense if that's what turns Topanga on.
it wasn't just the food. It was like Cory's ripped sweater. It was like things that was like not sexy at all. And it just made me really ask questions about their sex life in the way that I'm just like, what's happening here? I need more information. I don't
They hate
believe that
fucking.
they are hate fucking, and
They hate
that's the
fucking.
thing. They're letting out tension.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? That last fight that we had, that was like the turn up. That's probably what made them come down a little bit again. And they were like, "Oh,
Because
this is our
we've
time."
learned that they are both bored in their relationship when they are not in conflict. So they have
Completely
to
agree.
manifest conflict in order to get the passion going.
But again, show us. Show us. I'm so tired. Like, okay, speaking of show us. So we do all of this. Shawn comes and he's like, oh, no one came to their party. He goes back to Dervin's to get people. One thing that I will say is he was like, nobody gets their money until they come and stay. I was like, where's Shawn get all this money from? What is bankrolling Shawn's life? What are we doing?
$20 each. I was like, this is easily $500 you're about to throw on Cory and Topanga's party. That's probably more than they spent on it.
What is going on? Like, I have questions.
Apparently, Chet had life insurance. I don't know.
Right? But again, show us.
Show us.
So speaking of show us, let's go all the way back to our B storyline.
Wait, before we move on, just one thing I want to say is when they crack the door open and they see Cory and Topanga making out and like basically having sex on the floor, we're supposed to believe it within their twister mat. Cory suggestively says, I actually love your quiche. And I don't think he's talking about the quiche when he says it.
Won't.
I was like,
he won't.
Dirty.
When you said, I actually love your quiche, I was like, what you eating?
What you eating? Because we talking, all the quiches are gone. So
Cory, eat that quiche.
And the other thing that I thought was interesting was that when their friends saw it, instead of being like, oh, poor Cory and Shawn, I mean, Cory and Topanga, no one came to their party. They're like, oh, they must always be fucking 24/7. That's why they're always home at 9. They have an appointment. They have a dick appointment every night at 9 o'clock. And then the whole thing, Cory and Shawn and Angela are like, you want to go to the grocery store instead? Like, this has inspired them to make a mess to fucking, like, it's all over the place. This episode's stupid.
He said, what's that grocery bill like?
Yeah. It's silly. This whole storyline is silly.
Okay. I want to take we've done this storyline, which was fun and crazy. I want to go back to our B storyline and talk about Eric.
Do we have to?
And Jack. Yes, we do. For a few reasons. One, Will sells this storyline. It does not work if he doesn't do his little things and kind of like amp up every line. Because the idea that he hits his head, gets magical powers because of the sneezing. I was with you. I'm like, eye roll. Roll. He does it so well, and that it made me have fun with it. And then when we decide that they're, first of all, I will say again, showing not telling, we don't really see any of his predictions come true, which made me upset.
Well, the one prediction we see is he says there's a fire at the Peterman warehouse, and then the news they're watching immediately says
that could have been on. That could have been on. But by the way, is this the same Petermans whose wedding Eric stole? Very possible. Did Eric set the fire? Is that how you know? He is creating crime. He's creating crime. But like I will say, like his idea of, God gave me these powers. Now, did he give me them to fight crime? Like this whole thing that he's doing is fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad you are. I'm so glad that someone is having fun with it. But it's funny. And it's only funny because Will sells it. But I will say, when we go to the convenience store, new set, I was like, oh, okay. Where is this? Why haven't we been talking about the fact that there's a convenience store right around the corner? But when we do this, having him wear the helmet, stupid, but logical, because he immediately hits his head. So Jack has in fact been through this before, and it's like, nah, I'm not taking any chances. But see, the helmet is the exclamation point on the idea that Eric cannot survive as an adult
unsupervised in the wild.
If we are on the bearded timeline, we know where we're heading with Eric. So it actually makes sense that, yes, we are already saying that Eric cannot fend for himself. That is all of this is just on the bearded timeline. That's what I'm just going to call it.
A while back on our movie makeover podcast that we had a few years ago, we reviewed the movie Good Burger, in which we had a heated debate over Ed and whether he had was high or he had mental issues. And I still am asking that same question about Eric to this day. Like, the opening of the can as the jar was the one thing, but this is like so next level cartoony. It's so like something I would see in an animated, like a Rugrats episode or something would have some shit like this. Like,
not even
for Jack to buy into this so easily to the point where he's committing violence against Eric because he needs his future predictions, because he's so into the idea that this is actually real, it blows my mind.
First and foremost, we will not pretend that Jack, as he said, hasn't done this enough times where he's like, oh, no, I would be a fool to not believe that this is what's actually going on.
I mean, maybe.
I've been burned enough times. Think about the monkey. He judged the monkey, then the monkey came back and gave him the money. Like, if you're in Jack's world, he's like, does it make sense? Not at all. Are you a damned fool? Absolutely. But I would be more foolish to not go along with this because you were right about the TV.
All right, I have to break this down. I know they don't want us asking questions about this, like, because Eric having superpowers, being able to see the future is such a more of a reach than literally anything else we've ever done. The thing that
he got struck by lightning twice a few episodes ago, and we moved on. It is not more.
You're right. You know what? This is at the same level as the Lucky Penny, and both of them were too silly for words. I at the very least would have wanted them to give Eric an injury that was a little bit more, make him concussed or whatever. He goes, "Ow, Jack, I got a boo-boo. I can see the future." It's like, no, then you weren't hit that hard. So you're telling me the slightest impact to your skull gave you future prediction powers? Like, it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's too much. But I'm saying I'm along for the ride because we just being stupid. We just having fun with it. But my complaint is not that we do that, because at least we get a line. He doesn't just mention it and we don't see it. We actually heard the bump. We heard him say ow. And I'm saying all this because he sneezes and he's like, someone's in trouble. I gotta go help them. Okay, we don't get no Raven look into the future. We don't get no context. Just somebody. I don't know who. Then he sneezes again. Hey, he's cheating on you and he's gonna rob this place. Show us the gun. Show us him, like, show him drop a ski mask. Show
the woman being like, I knew it. Like, give us something to be like, yes, there's truth to what's happening. Because otherwise, we are watching the ravings of a lunatic and his best friend buying into every aspect of it.
Correct. And the implication is that everything that Eric is saying is true, but there's no evidence. No. And I was like, if the whole point is to create doubt whether or not whatever Eric is saying is true, then do that better. Like, you can't be vague and say that all of his predictions are coming true and not give us any evidence that they are and showing, or be like, I don't know, are they? And not give us enough reasonable doubt. You didn't do either.
You know what would have made this an easy fix is if Jack had lost some money betting on like a football game or something, because we know that they've established that Jack has a serious gambling issue that he's had to go to rehab for.
Correct.
That could have made him so desperate for cash that he's like, you know what? I'm going to believe this even if it doesn't make sense to me. Like, something like that to give him motivation, because otherwise he's just greedy and wants money. But I can't. But
he already comes from money. So it's weird that we have, and to your point, I actually forgot that we already established that Jack had a betting problem. So if that is the case, why would we not mention it? Why would Eric not be like, hey, you know how you get whenever it comes to this?
Yeah.
Why would we not set up like you've been doing so well over the last few weeks. Don't fall back into it. Like all of that would have been good, but no, they just take it for granted. And that's what I'm saying. This episode feels out of place because if you put this like end to end with Jack's betting problem, or if you put this episode where we have more story development about Jack, then it kind of fits. But if we're just going from what last week does, it doesn't. And we aren't even showing anything. We're just telling the audience. We're saying, hey, he was going to rob this place. No gun, no ski mask, no evidence. Nobody even freaks out. They just leave.
They just leave. It would be different if it was like that scene in Groundhog Day where Bill Murray's sitting at the diner trying to convince Andy McDowell that he's lived the same day over and over again. And he's like, this person's about to drop some dishes. This person's about to scream. There's about to be this outside, like predicting what's about to happen as it's happening in real time would have made us go, the audience be like, oh, maybe there's something to this. But I don't think they've even convinced the audience that what Eric is experiencing is real. And so it doesn't feel like a journey we're going on with him. It feels like something we're being drug along for.
I agree. And then so we go to this weird alley.
Oh yeah, you know what's so funny? They were outside in a parking lot arguing about lottery tickets, and I was like, wasn't there like a season 3 or season 4 episode where Shawn was like, oh, I'm capable of more than just standing around waiting for the new batch of lottery tickets? And then it just ended up being Jack. Connections.
That hunter gene is strong.
Check out them strong seeds.
But yeah, it's the idea of, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed when he's just begging. It is violent, it is abusive, it is not something that I support. However, when Jack is banging Eric's head against the dumpster, give me those zippers.
It felt like it wasn't the first time that they've been begging.
Ew, it was not, but it made me laugh because each and every single time we were like, ow, 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 ow. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a great dynamic. Oh,
I rolled the entire thing.
Let me see. Oh my God, there's I skipped over this. But with the pepper, when they are in the grocery store and he's trying to make him sneeze and he throws the pepper, you could see Matthew Lawrence is trying so hard not to break. Because it is just a funny dynamic, and the convenience store, the alley, they are having fun, and it looks like they are having fun.
All right, question. Is it the sneezing or is it the head injury that gives him the abilities? Because if it's his head injury that gives him the abilities, him wearing a helmet would prevent his abilities from happening. And if it's the sneezing, then like, why do we
head
with the helmet at all?
Triggered the sneezing.
This is ridiculous. Do we hear ourselves?
Ears, nose, and throat. They're all connected.
What does that do with the head injury? This is like us trying to describe the plot of The Flash again. It's like, I'm lost. It doesn't equal up. I'm confused.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm laughing at the chaos that is this. Because why don't we have a bum there? Who is this bum?
Who's the bum? He seems to know both of these characters.
He says Jack. We don't know, like, is he supposed to be Eric from the future? Is he just like a well-meaning? Like, I thought that there would be something with like the lottery ticket where Jack gave him the lottery ticket or something.
Yes, like, hey, we're arguing about lottery tickets. There's a homeless man sleeping on the floor here. You know what? You have the tickets. And then later on, they watch it and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe we gave it away. And it's like, oh, it's for the best, whatever. Storyline we've already done, but let's do it again. We're already doing a bunch of these things again. The thing about the homeless man that drives me crazy is that this is a prime example of some of the laziness that we've gotten into in season 7. In the same way that, like, oh, God will take care of it. It's like, yeah, God gave Eric his power. Sure, we don't need to explain it. God did it. Like, who is this man? We don't need to explain it. It's just there for comedy. It's like they've strayed so far away from, and this is why I have a problem even appreciating Will Friedle's performance, because I've seen him perform in episodes that actually still build upon his character, that, like, have like a layered, complex storyline that still works out. This is all nonsense.
Oh, this is all nonsense. I will not pretend like any of this isn't nonsense. Is it treading over familiar ground. Like we haven't done all these
Even
storylines
even the
better.
idea of Eric thinking it was, oh, I was destined to save you, Jack, from your greed. I was like, was that not what Plays with Squirrels did like 2 episodes ago? Like it's
But to
all the
your point, it's just like,
same.
why did you have to like you? If you would have said, "I see a man in an alley" or something like that, that would have been. But someone's in danger, and Jack was with you at the
Yeah.
convenience store. So why did you need to leave that area for that to happen? I'm not gonna lie, this is not the best written. This feels rushed. This feels last minute. I don't know why this guy who was playing the bum is there. Like there were so many other things that it did feel like they meant to do. And now that I know how the sausage is made a little bit, I just feel like this was like a behind the scenes jumble and rush.
This
But
feels like the most filler of all filler episodes that we've come across this season so
I agree
far.
with you. It feels like a Chat GPT script,
Mm.
and I don't mean that. Like I understand if you wrote this, it was probably expected. It was probably whatever. I know that a lot of work goes into the writers' room into making these scripts, but you cannot tell me that you look at this episode and say that there is no faults. That we are treading new ground. We are learning anything about our characters that we didn't
And
already know.
you know what? Maybe this is the problem with having like a rotating writers room. It's like, hey, we have writers that start off at a certain position, they work their way up from season 1 to season 3, and then they go off and do a different show. And then so what ends up happening is by the time you're in season 7, there's hardly any voices who have been there consistently throughout the show to be like, hey, we did this before. Like,
No,
who is
but I
there? Like,
believe
Michael
what
Jacobs is the only one there, but even he like took time to peace out for a little bit. Like, so it's like there's constantly people like leaving and coming and going
no,
that like,
wasn't Gary there? And also, I believe like Jeff Sherman or Jeff McCracken, like one of those who are like one of the Jeffs, like they're
okay, so
there. There
there's
were
a few
people who were
voices that
there.
were there the whole time, but like, man, I just like I wonder what you could do to just kind of like tighten this up a little bit, because if you just took a little bit of time to realize the stories that you told over the last 2 seasons, I feel like this whole episode could have been different and should be different.
Absolutely. Okay. I feel like we've done enough. I feel
We've
like we've
done
said
it.
enough.
Oh, just to
Uh,
end the episode, Eric ends up eating the lottery ticket.
well, no, what happens is that Jack is like, you were wrong. I can't believe I believed you. Rips up the ticket, shoves it in Eric's mouth, and then they're like, all right, well, enough with the New York lottery. Let's go to Pennsylvania. And I'm like, okay, again, for sitcom, which is what we're gonna go with, it's funny, it's a comedic turn. However, you gonna tell me you were watching and they didn't say New York numbers?
Yeah.
But then for the fact that it's gonna be, I will say, the fact that it ends with Eric sneezing and be like, "Ooh, what you're gonna do to me?" I was like, oh, "Okay, go get the helmet."
Go get the helmet. And you know what? Let's go to the grocery store while we're at it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. What was your bruh moment of the episode?
Uh, honestly, I don't know that I had one. I don't know that I had a true bruh moment throughout this whole episode. While stupid, I don't know that any of it was problematic. Nothing that's at least screams out to me in that way. I don't know. Did you have one?
The only thing I will say, and it really it's not that big of a deal, but the only thing that like I kind of have a problem with is the idea of Topanga just losing all agency. All like the idea that he blames Topanga, it's her fault. Like all of these things, I'm just like, I want more for Topanga. That's the only thing that I'm like, we give Topanga zero agency. And even when she is upset, they turn it sexual. And it's like, or she could actually be mad at her husband. That's it.
This is the life she chose, bruh.
This is the
I
life
let go. I let go of that a long time ago.
Don't save her. She don't want to be saved.
She really don't. She really don't.
Okay. What is the lesson? What's the feeding lesson of this episode?
Ooh. Uh, uh be true to yourself. Listen to your partner. Don't beat up your friends. Like I am struggling to come up with anything to take away from this episode.
You know, I'm not gonna lie with you. I actually like I asked the question and I didn't think about. Usually I can like pull a lesson from this. There is nothing that ties the two storylines
Because
together.
they're not even trying to teach us a lesson here. They're just trying to teach that Topanga and Cory are better being boring old people.
Go to Durbin's party. That's the lesson.
Go to Durbin's party, yeah. Live your life.
Just for those of you who think that I'm someone different than who I am, I will let you know, of course, I noticed my himbo Durbin. And I do love... I noticed.
Love a himbo.
Okay. What grade are you giving this?
I'm giving this episode a D-, Brad.
Okay, respectable. Honestly, how can I fight that? I really can't. I'm gonna give it a C-.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a C- just because I did find myself laughing. I don't think it's well written. I don't think that it covers anything new, but it was an episode.
It was an episode that if this episode disappeared from this series would make no difference and would probably make me enjoy the characters more.
True, but if you were to take this episode out of Boy Meets World,
sure,
just as a standalone episode, I'm saying if you were to just, if this was a spec script or whatever, you would have problems with it, but it still works as an episode. That's all.
It works as a very forgettable episode of mediocre television. And
I'm not disagreeing.
It's disappointing is because not only is can the show be better, and that's the thing about season 7 that's so frustrating. Like, there's episodes that suck, and then every now and then we get an episode where it's like, damn, that was actually pretty good. The next episode that we're gonna do next week or whatever it comes out, Brotherly Shove, is actually a pretty good episode, I remember. So like, that's the thing. There's no jump the shark moment. There's just a bunch of little shark moments throughout, and this one is like daddy shark, like this
baby sharks.
Yeah, this one is a big shark. I don't know. This episode, Eric having superpowers is ridiculous. I don't know.
We are definitely Urkel goes to space territory.
Yes. And it seems like almost in an attempt to try to keep up with the absurdity of those other shows that had to resort to such extreme lengths to get viewers in.
But it's also funny because we were told recently that like they were trying to be like Friends. And so when you see, you're like, Friends wouldn't have this storyline.
No one gets superpowers in Friends.
Like, would even Seinfeld? I could kind of see them doing this with Kramer, but like again, it would still have some kind of balance. That's it. To me, it just doesn't have balance.
This feels like if it were a Family Matters episode where Urkel hit his head and started sneezing into the future with Carl, that would make sense to me. And it feels like they're like between Urkel going to space, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and like You Wish or whatever the other chaos is going on at TGIF during this time. It just feels like an attempt to try to keep up with those.
Okay. Well, we will have to look. We will have to look and listen to what is revealed when Pod Meets World does this. Because they will inevitably have some answers for us. Okay. For those of you who enjoyed this conversation, thank you for sticking with us as long as you did.
Yes.
We are going to go over to our conversations of our Pod Meets World react. Speaking of Pod Meets World, where we are going to cover Pod Meets World episodes from season 4. If you are interested in that, go join our Patreon, where we post all those episodes. And when we're back, we'll do homework.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you an exclusive news announcement, introducing the Bra Meets World podcast Patreon. Over to you, Ceej.
That's right, Tony. When you join our Patreon as a Gold Star member, you get to dive into ad-free listening for just $3 a month. That's $3 a month to enjoy commercial-free listening to our latest episodes.
Now, Ceej, does this mean our listeners get to immerse themselves in bonus content, including extended episodes, exclusive Pod Meets World reviews, and our coverage of My Date with the President's Daughter?
That's right, Tony. And snag a sweet discount on our awesome Bra Meets World merchandise. And join the conversation to our Patreon polls. Unlock a world of exclusive content at patreon.com/Bra Meets World. Back to you, Tony.
Thanks, Ceej. By becoming a patron, you're not just supporting the show, you're getting VIP access to content you won't find anywhere else. For just $3 a month, enjoy the luxury of ad-free listening and join an exclusive club where the fun never stops. Back to you, Ceej.
Thanks, Tony. Don't miss out on the action. Join us at Patreon today and get you some Tony and Ceej time. Your support means the world to us. That's patreon.com/Bra Meets World. Back to you, Tony.
Elevate yourself from a
basic listener to an official member of the Brum Meets World family. Now, back to the episode.
Okay, homework. What do you got? What you got?
I saw a movie the other night called Turtles All the Way Down on Max.
Okay.
It's based off of a John Green book. It stars Isabella Merced, I think I'm saying that right. I don't know, as a girl who has OCD, and it's a very like cute coming of age teenage like rom dram. There's I don't know. I was a very like light watch for me. Like I was just
Okay.
like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put this on. Like we'll watch this. It'll be chill. But it was very well done. Like in the way that it explored OCD from this girl who's like she's trying at a cafeteria in high school trying to like talk to her friend, but she can't even focus because she's thinking about the bacteria of the food in the cafeteria and how if she gets that bacteria in her, what that's gonna do to her. And there's all this imagery of bacteria, and it's like you really get into the anxiety. I mean, obviously this is maybe an extreme thing of OCD. I don't know. I don't really know OCD that well. But like seeing the world through her eyes, I thought was a very interesting way to explore mental health, specifically this part of mental health that I was a little unfamiliar with, and to incorporate that into a dramatic storyline. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and also I think we had talked about this a while ago, but do they even call it OCD anymore, or is it like anxiety disorder?
You know,
I don't
there's
remember.
actually a difference between OCD and anxiety, and it's very difficult to
Oh.
determine the difference between the two.
Oh, I think we were talking about hypochondria.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what it was. Okay, cool. Oh, sorry.
But yeah, it's a good watch. It's cute.
All right, cool. All right. For my homework, my husband and I were looking for something to watch, something like little casual, and that made me look into a show that I was like, why are we doing this again? We are getting all these prequels, all these sequels, all these extended universes. Where is this show's extended universe? And I am talking about Nip Tuck. Do you
Oh,
remember? Did you ever watch FX Nip Tuck?
I mean, I watched a few episodes. I remember this when it was happening. I gotta be honest, Ryan Murphy's writing style is not one that like
Oh.
sits with my palate well. Um, so like it's I remember watching, maybe I do need to revisit it, but honestly, all of his shows I try to watch and they all feel chaotic to me.
Well, first of all, they are all chaotic. They are all like adult soap dramas, all of them. He usually has like one or two good seasons in him, and then they like go like out of left field. But the thing about it, to me, was like the concept of it, like rewatching the pilot again. I was like, oh, there is something here. If you want to talk about toxic friendships, if you want to talk about love triangles or triads, like this idea of it follows Dr. Christian Troy and Sean McNamara, and the idea that they are business partners. Of course, Sean has like the wife and kids and family. It's very Bad Boys coded because it's
Okay.
like wife, kids, family, and Sean is like the playboy single guy, but also he's in love with Sean's wife, but also he kind of has like this I don't know how to quit you relationship with Sean. Like it's very weird. It is like this, but then also it's in Miami, the first few seasons. In Miami, plastic surgery. We're talking about all of like the botched that we would talk about,
Sure,
the fact
sure.
that people go, it has like a lot of conversations about class and the fact that like, these people can pay for it, but these people can't. So of course, by the end of the episode, we have like a negotiation where it's like, I'll do the butt lifts, I'll do the BBLs, but I also want to do
Yeah,
some.
Drizzy. Sorry,
No,
it's in my
you
head
have to. You
24/7.
have to. I said it. I do. But I'll do the BBLs, and then I'll also do my pro bono work. So anyway, very chaotic. The son looks exactly like Michael Jackson in it, so
Oh,
you just got to see it for that alone.
okay,
But
sure.
yeah, check out Nip Tuck, and then tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if this show doesn't need like a new interpretation featured like a Latin couple, or like
Hmm.
one's Cuban, one's Jamaican. Like give me a little bit of Nip Tuck New Age
Yeah,
Miami
yeah.
24. I don't know. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I mean, I I could see that. Honestly, I don't know. I'd have to watch the pilot again. I really was never super interested into the show, but I never truly like gave it a fair shot. So let me do that before I make any judgments.
I will say, like, this is one of those shows where it's like, does it hold up like completely? Absolutely not. We're not saying that it does, but if you watch the pilot, you'll see a lot of what we're talking about in terms of like this. Like, it's commenting and it's very self-aware of the toxic masculinity. It's very self-aware of the kind of uneasy friendships that men will sometimes find themselves in.
Okay.
You know, where it's like we're brothers, but we also kind of compete, but we also kind of hate each other.
Sure.
You know, like, all of these things that we talk about with Shawn and Eric, not Shawn and Eric, Shawn and Cory, pretty often. Like it's there. It's, I don't know. I think it's worth watching again, even if it's just the pilot. I say you check it out. I think you'll be more interested. And again,
all
right. Check it out. Absolutely. All right, you guys, thank you for joining us for another episode. Let us know your thoughts on Nip Tuck. Let us know your thoughts on, what was your homework?
Turtles all the way down.
Turtles all the way down.
Yeah.
If you've checked it out, let us know your thoughts on this episode. Did you think that this was a diamond in the rough, or are you with us where you're like, what has season 7 brought? Either way, we want to hear from you. Check us out at brummeetsworld@gmail.com or email us at brummeetsworld, or you can scratch that, reverse it, and check out our merch, check out our Patreon, check out our YouTube, check us out because we cute and we fly.
Also, guys, you know, like we were saying, you know, season 7's coming to an end. If you guys have anything about the show that you want us to cover towards the end of the series as we're wrapping up, like, let us know. Like, you know, we're thinking about, you know, doing some top 5 moments or things like that. If any of that sounds interesting to you, let us know, because we're excited to explore how we could squeeze what's left of this lemon out.
Absolutely. Okay, you guys, until next time, please dream.
Please try.
And wear a helmet.
Wear a helmet. Do some good, y'all.
Do some good. Later, bros.
Later, bros. This episode of Brown Meets World is produced by Ceej and edited by Tony Curtis. Brown Meets World is a 2 Free Tokens media production.
Later, bros.
When this boy meets world.
Join Jackie and Danielle, 2 best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees who are rewatching some of their favorite movies from the late 90s and early 2000s on the No More Late Fees podcast. And remember, be kind and rewind.